This is a guide on how to make really good chocolate chip cookies. Even though I've done quite a bit of baking, oddly enough I've never actually made chocolate chip cookies. So I had to call in someone from Canada, resident chocolate chip cookie expert Alex Martins. That's the only reason he came to visit me, no other reason at all, just to make chocolate chip cookies. We made this and then he flew back. We didn't hang out or anything. For ingredients, we'll need 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 cups of flour, 2 eggs at room temperature. Be careful. 1 tablespoon of vanilla, half a cup of butter, also at room temperature. Also be careful. 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate morsels, and 1 bar of chocolate, which is about 3.5 ounces. For this we use 70% dark chocolate, I think it was Lint? Not sure how it's pronounced, but that kind. Or you can use 3/4 cup of mini chocolate chips. That also works. Before we get started, you might want to just tell your roommate to turn down his music a little bit, because it's a little too loud and you're trying to do something that requires a little bit of focus. And you have your friend Alex Martins here, so you don't want to embarrass yourself. Just make sure he turns his music down so you can focus on baking, and we're good to go. First, preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, in a large mixing bowl, combine the flour, baking soda, and salt. Whisk well until incorporated, and if you need a hand, ask your friend. He's really good at whisking. Next, in a different bowl, combine the brown sugar and butter. Mix them well until they're consistently consistent. It should be a nice even texture all throughout, and should be all pretty smooth, and make sure to scrape from the bottom as well when you're doing this, just to make sure you get all of it. Your friend might want to take a break and do push-ups for some reason. I guess it's something they do in Canada a lot, so you can let him do that. You probably don't want to stop him because he's really strong, so he could probably beat you up. So, yeah. Next, add in the eggs. They should be room temperature, so you should leave them out for at least an hour or so beforehand. And when you add them into the brown sugar and butter mix, you want to add them one at a time. This was stressed to me a lot. One at a time. I think it's just so that it is consistent. Consistency is really important in a lot of recipes, so make sure to mix well, but also don't overmix, because that can lead to some weird texture stuff down the line. So after you've mixed in both of the eggs, then you can add in the vanilla. This time I used real vanilla. Last time I used imitation vanilla and I got a lot of hate for it, so I used real vanilla this time. Please don't be mad at me. After you add the vanilla, then you can add in the flour, baking soda, and salt mix. It was also stressed to me to add this in 3 increments, mixing as well. So you add a little bit, then you mix it, then you add in a little bit more, then you mix it, and then you add what's left, and you mix it as well. Alex made a really big point of this, so much that he included how to count to 3 in kind of the normal way, and then also in the way they do in some European countries, I think, with the thumb. I don't know why they do that. I guess it makes sense though, because it's like the end of the hand, but yeah. And next we can add the chocolate. The chocolate chips are pretty easy. You can just add 1 cup of those, but the chocolate bar we did have to kind of chop up pretty finely, so Alex did that and his hand got really messy. So if you do this, make sure to just be prepared for that, or wear gloves. I don't know why we didn't think of that. It would have saved us the mess, but also he got to lick his fingers, which is cool. Also, while the chocolate bar is being chopped, make sure to defend it from the cameraman. I don't know why he was getting really aggressive and trying to grab the chocolate, but we had to make sure that he didn't take it because we needed it for the cookies. So if that happens, just make sure to stop your cameraman from trying to grab the chocolate. After the chocolate bar is chopped up, then you can add in the cup of semi-sweet morsels and the chocolate bar. And then you can start mixing that. And yeah, you should mix that up and get it pretty consistent. And then you're ready for one of the final steps. On a fairly large piece of parchment paper, you're going to dump out the entire mix of batter. And basically you're going to flatten that out as best as you can get it. And you can even fold over the parchment paper on top of that. Get it to about, I believe about an inch thick is what we did. And then you put it in the fridge. The dough should chill in the fridge for about half a day or overnight. A day works as well. Yeah, and I think it's just to firm up the dough and give it a little more structure when it's cool. After you put it in the fridge, you might realize that your roommate is still listening to music, just kind of at a really quiet volume, and you can kind of feel bad about that because it's kind of your fault that you yelled at him. After the dough has chilled, then you can take it out and kind of unwrap it. Unwrap that parchment paper like a Christmas present. And then you can begin cutting the dough into even squares. These squares were about 1.5 inches, which I think is like 3 to 4 centimeters. I think, I'm not sure. But that's what they use in Canada. In Canada, they use centimeters. So after you cut all the squares, then you roll them into balls and place them on another piece of parchment paper on a baking sheet. And you want to make sure that there's enough room in between all of them just so they don't like all melt and cook together and combine into one giant cookie. You want to keep them apart a little bit just so there's enough space for them to grow. Also, I just realized while I was recording this that we preheated the oven right at the beginning, and then I also said to chill the dough overnight. Yeah, don't leave your oven preheating for a whole night or day. That's not a good idea. So basically, before you're ready to cook them, then you want to preheat the oven to 325. And once you place them in the oven, set a timer for about 15 to 16 minutes, and that should be just enough time to cook them. After you take them out of the oven, then you just have to wait for them to cool for a little bit, and they should be ready to eat. And boy, oh boy, do they look good. They might just be good enough to mend a friendship. And I think they were. I know they were. They were really good cookies. Chocolate chip cookies. If you try this recipe, let me know in the old comments down there. And as always, thanks for watching.